Hi, I'm Ian and welcome to Executive Grooves. This is going to be a slightly different format today because my guest, who is Tim Lee, who is the founder and owner of Collaborate MK, is sitting beside me and we're going to do like a fireside chat today. So welcome, Tim.
Great to see you, Ian.
So I always like to start these podcasts by going back to your teenage years and tell us a little bit about the music that you listened to when you were a teenager.
Well, I really look back and think I was lucky to be a teenager in the 70s. It's quite scary when I look back now. But the music that was in the charts at the time, as it was 72, when I was 9, was Slade and Sweet. Gary Glitter.
Remember that era, yeah.
and bands like that. But what I didn't notice at the time was the emergence of prog rock, which is my absolute delight now. So I didn't really notice at that age, sort of 10. That's more, I sort of went back to that as I got older. But at the time, it was very much glam rock and so on. But I do remember very well hearing Silver Machine, Hawkwind, and I Know What I Like, Genesis. And it's one of those sort of tracks that sort of sit there in the charts. I used to write out the chart.
The classic Genesis era. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. But didn't appreciate it then. It was more, that's when I turned the clock back.
And did you go to many gigs?
Once it hit 1980, when I was 17, my first gig was Genesis at Liverpool Empire, and I can still feel the bass thundering through me now. It just went out, then there were 3. And I thought, what a way to start. £3.50 a ticket. Things have changed.
Fantastic.
Still got the ticket stuff.
So how did that prog rock teenager come to be the founder and owner of the biggest networking group in Milton Keynes?
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, going back to those days was very much. Growing up in Liverpool, I was working for Currys. I was selling TVs and washing machines and vacuum cleaners, aged 18, 19. And growing up in Liverpool, you love football, you love music, whether you wanted to or not. It was completely thrown into you to do that, and that led me to sort of in the retail world, you have to adapt to people pretty quickly. You know, very, very much. 1 minute someone could be spending 20 quid, next minute in those days probably 200-300 quid. And as my retail career went on, there was a lot more money being spent. So I do feel networking sort of comes quite natural to me as a person, because of those retail days that I had. So, but that was very much the foundation of how I've got into this business now. Not so much in those days, but once I was let loose as not a franchise, I was, effectively a franchise manager when I worked for Sony. And that's when we had an MD that said, P&L is yours, off you go, next. Never had that working for a large retailer, which is understandable, to be perfectly honest. But when you work for an independent business, different story. And that's where I was just coming up to 40 years old. And it was like, right, now, at last, I can actually focus on the business, look at the costs, and basically that was my stepping stone into running my own business. You know, that's all for that one job.
Wow. So I know we've talked about this before, but why would you say networking is so important to businesses, whether they be startups or even established businesses?
You just have to be visible. You have to be visible to the business community around you. Turn the clock right back, and yes, you could put that in the paper, people read the paper, publications, and so on. But if you're going to do business to business, if you're going to build work relationships with other business owners, they've got to see you. They've got to see you and see your personality come out. You've got to build that trust, and there's no quick fix in networking. It will not happen on that first event. It builds and builds and builds, but you got to keep that trust going and just be supportive of others. That is my whole principle of how we go about our networking.
And the title of your network, Collaborate, which is quite a unique title. And I know, again, we've talked about this. Businesses quite often go to networking, and the first thing they try to do is sell to everybody in the room. But your approach is quite different, isn't it? Tell us about your approach.
Yeah, it is very different. I know it's something that I think pleased to say that I don't bang on about, because I don't dictate to anybody. If someone comes to an event and that's what they want to do, then yeah, as long as they do it in a non-aggressive way and it's productive for them. But I'm just so keen on people in the same industry. You see, I don't use the word competitor. There's no need. Someone in the same industry, have a conversation. How could that person help you? How could you help them? And I always use website design as an example. You could have 3 or 4 website designers in that room at an event, 100 people or so, have a conversation, because that particular client, that person could have, may not be the right fit. They may not be the right fit for WordPress, for example. It might need to be another system, that type of thing. So not every client is the right fit for that person. So it's all about having those conversations. Yeah, I'll help you there. You help me there. And so on. Before you know it, you built yourself a mini community around you. That's my whole principle. But don't use the word competitor. Just someone from the same industry, have a conversation. Yeah.
And you do reflect that in practice. I know this, where you have people who do collaborate, you give them airtime. So there are particular groups I know that work together. They get airtime because that is the nature, isn't it? Collaborate.
Oh, totally. And if you'd asked me this, say 6 years ago, pre-lockdown, the world wouldn't have entered my heads. Yeah, I was one that went to networking events. Was in a commercial role at the MK Dons, Business MK newspaper, and I'll be thinking, right, who's got the budget for this? Who's got the budget for that? And so on. It was lockdown that changed me to be, let's make things more supportive, and so on. That's my whole principle. But yes, any other, I work closely with other networking groups, very close with MKFM. We did a joint event together. 250 people came to that. Aruna Rao, busy networking. Got to know Aruna after an introduction over 2 years ago now, after a few lunches, and a lot of planning, a lot of organising. We were here at MKU. 136 people came to our joint event, and it's all about me providing our members new contacts. It's all about keeping lots of new faces coming onto our events and so on. And collaboration only works if you know you're really going to get on with that person. Sometimes, we're all human. Those personalities could clash, but where there is that correct feel about things, it's just a case of go for it and just have things in place. But it works really well.
So some tremendous numbers there. So why do you think it has been so much more successful than other groups over 5 years, say?
Yeah, I think it is. The feedback I get is very much, so say it's a brand new startup, say they've been made redundant or they've decided to leave the world after 25, 30 years. In this last 6 months, there's been a huge amount of people that have got all those skills, but they haven't really, they've never had a need to go network because they're there with the workload coming in. Now they've got all those skills. Now they've got to, don't use the word sell themselves. They've just got to build those working relationships. But they come away from an event, whether it's a smaller event with 20 to 25 people or an event with 120, saying, "Oh my word, that was really friendly. It wasn't what I was expecting."
Yeah.
And I love that because there is a perception that it's going to be exchange of business cards with us and so on. It's not like that. I'm not saying that can't happen. You've got to build those work relationships, but those days have changed. And I think not just me, but other groups as well. We've made things far more relaxed, and it's all about just having that conversation and looking at the long term. As I say, there's no quick fixes. It's so important to me.
Okay. Good. So, looking back over your career now, obviously you've put a lot of work into Collaborate MK, but what other high points did you have in your career?
Well, I think June 2024, when we won networking group of the year at the SME Awards at the Doubletree, MK Dons, for MK Buckinghamshire. That was great. You win that, you go through to the final. And I thought, let's go along. And I looked at the other groups that were up for an award, and there was nine. There was nine other very well established lunch networking. I think, I remember rightly, what was out Bristol, what was out certainly around Surrey, London, and so on, Northants. And I thought, yeah, let's go there, see how we get on. And then up comes the silver member, the silver award winner, and then I thought, well, that's okay. It's been a good day out. And then there we are, 700 people in the room at Wembley collaborating. Okay, and I still get a little.
That must have been quite a moment.
It was quite a moment, to say the least. To see our name there, and there was 17 tables of 10, and absolutely huge event.
And did you raise the cup high?
I felt like it. I really didn't know what to do at first. It's sort of just edge my way on stage, and it was a very surreal moment in getting off the stage as well.
So one of the things you do differently is you have a collaborative support team.
Yeah,
I've not come across that before. Quite often networking events are individuals or very small groups of people who drive the whole event. Why did you do that?
Yeah, well, what I need, because the business is me and my daughter Katie, who does 16 hours, and she does signing desk at like MK meetups, lunch, and gold membership workshops, and then the other hours are very much just keeping on top of the database, new member onboarding, and keeping the website absolutely perfect and so on. I do need that support at every event to get the pull-up banners in place. Sometimes there's up to 15 pull-up banners. That's a large event, 5 or 6 in a gold workshop. Sometimes we supply the food ourselves, because we do different venues each time for a number of events. So I need that pair of hands very early at 8 o'clock, so we are fully set up for first arrivals. If the retailer in me always says, if that room's not ready, just like a store is not ready by the time that first person walks through the door, you're not done your job properly. That's what you see sometimes on a grumpy face until the first arrival, because it's all about standards. Retail's all about standards. Running events all about standards, and so it has to be. Those screens have got to be rolling, signing in desk perfect, just no scurrying around. Sometimes things do happen, and that can't be helped. But with the best planning, that's my thing. Is that I do get a bit twitchy about. But what I do need, because it's 43 in a sport team, is a lot of people.
Wow.
There's no pressure on anybody. So if someone can't make it, because it's all on a voluntary basis, if someone can't make it, I can just ask someone else, would you mind? Could you meet me there? And so on. So that really works well. But yeah, I have what I call safety in numbers, because I can't expect people to doubt tools from their business to do everything. But I do like to have a large support team, so I know I've got that backup.
Just quite respectful of people's time.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about successes. What have been some of the more challenging things that you've had to deal with?
There's challenges here and there, but because I'm a real stickler for planning and preparation, just generally keeping on top, it leaves me sort of, to a certain extent, pretty sort of stress-free to a certain extent. There's a massive workload. It is 24/7. It involves a lot of weekend work to keep on top of absolutely everything, because there's a lot of behind-the-scenes admin with event rights and so on. You have to have everything. You've got to be a week ahead of yourself, minimum of every event.
Because you're running 9 events a month.
Yes. So you always 3 months ahead of myself with the core events coming up. That's just my routine. But the final finishing touches, they have to be 7 days, but 3 months planning. So you have guest speakers in place 3 months ahead and so on. As soon as I've been to a venue and I'm happy to book again next year, they're planned a year ahead. So I've always got this continuous cycle. So I have all that in place, but you can get a spanner in the works where the venue might not be ready, or that type of thing. But to be perfectly honest, I've not had that many challenges. It's probably just the general extreme workload sometimes sort of gets me a little bit. But you have to sort of walk away, come back, and everything's fine again. So I get those moments, but no huge challenges.
Anything in previous roles that you're able to tell us about, challenge-wise?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, in the retail world, it's just riddled.
Go on, tell us more. Tell us more.
Oh, you could have spanners in the works. You could have the best planning in place whatsoever. And I was very lucky in my Sony Centre days because I had a cracking team of people, kept them together for maybe 10 years. You know, this is 2004 through to 2014. But prior to that, no, staffing in general, just general commitment from your team and so on, is pretty tough going because the salaries weren't particularly good at retail unless you really wanted to go the management ladder fast, which is what I did in the early 80s. It is pretty tough going salary wise, but everybody has their choice. It's a great opportunity in retail, but no, you in those early days, yeah, you could have a team of 6, then 2 ring in sick, that type of thing. And that has a huge effect on business, especially electrical retail. You know, it's not that continual flow of products. You could miss that person that's been waiting there to spend in those days £1,000 on a TV. You know, so massive challenges in that, and the fact that electrical retail very low margins. 2 of the businesses I worked for physically closed down in the 90s and so on, and so did my Sony Centre as well. That was massive. Especially when you get older, then you're suddenly there. Effectively, yeah, you could say, yeah, I'm scrappy back in 2014 when my Sony Centre closed down. Because you do, it wasn't even 50, but you see ages and creeps in and so on. But in the B2B world, get it.
But for me, that's one of the reasons why networking groups are so important, because people do come and go. Businesses start up, they close down, people end up looking for jobs. Networking groups gives them something to go for, and relationships quite often lead to jobs. So
yeah, no, 100%.
So with all this experience that you've had with football, gigs, prog rock and that, now you're a little bit older and you've dealt with a lot more people. If there were one piece of advice that you could give your younger self, what would it be?
I think be a bit more proactive and take a few. I should have taken a few more risks when I was younger. You know, certainly when I moved south, because working for Currys, they moved me south. Well, they asked me to run the Watford store for a couple of weeks because there was, let's say, issues to say the least. And the area manager was quite impressed with what I did over those 2 weeks. This is back in 1987. He said, "Do you want to stay down here?" So, and I wish I had been a bit more of a risk taker then. I was always sort of played safe with my decision making and so on. I think that could have helped me a little bit more in my early career because I really wanted to be an area manager or regional manager up that route. Being so established in electrical retail, that never happened. So it was always at manager level, which was fine at Sony because it was a good job and I was training. I wasn't training up new managers up in the country, so that was fine in the end. But there was that patch of my career where I never really got any higher. You know, it was good money, the kids were young, so you just played safe with what you got. But I really should have done more to make sure I was an area manager than that in those days.
That's interesting. So I talk to a lot of people, and when they look back, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah. But of course, you don't realise that at the time.
That's exactly.
So you mentioned earlier that it's a 24/7 job now. Working weekends. What role does music play now?
It has to be in the background. I'm easily distracted, so I can't have almost I've got surround sound in my office and so on. But just the small speaker underneath the monitor is enough for me. So I've got sort of tubular bells ticking over quite nicely. Sometimes all 4. Yeah. 1, 2, and 3 in a row. Yeah. That's I find. I tend to have the easier listening when I'm working, but I have to have music in the background. And I'm no good at listening to radio because I'm so tunnel vision with my music taste. It's got to be Spotify, and then my music taste. I can't do it to a track that I don't like. Make it switch.
Sweet. Move on.
Yeah.
I'm like that. I'm certainly like that in the car.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tim. It's been a pleasure talking to you in a slightly different format. So for those people who are listening or watching and they want to talk to Tim about networking in Milton Keynes and being part of that setup, how do they contact you?
Yeah, just straight onto the website. If you do contact me, my email address is on there, or pop me a message to my mobile. More than happy to have a conversation, meet up for a coffee, and I'll take people through the events. There's no pressure to join as a member. Just like people to come along to our events, enjoy it. People join as a member, then that's great. They just want to come as pay as you go. In that equals the same thing. So.
Okay, great. So thank you for listening or watching. Hope you've enjoyed the session today. And as usual, if you've got any suggestions for other people that I can interview so we can learn more about their background, just send them in. I'll take care of the rest. Thank you for now, and I look forward to seeing you soon.